Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review the new documentary Carlos about the legendary guitarist and musician Carlos Santana. This is from director Rudy Valdez, and this film is really from the perspective of Carlos Santana, who's alive and kicking and making music, and really takes us through a journey of his life. Now, this film's only like an hour and 27 minutes, so like this isn't like this deep dive into the nitty-gritty details of the career and the human being Carlos Santana, but what I do feel like this film excels with is really focusing on who Carlos Santana is, down to the core, and because this film captures him so well with the help of him, because he's the one expressing these things and helping us understand who he is, it helps us get through some of the other elements of family and like his family growing up and the family he makes with his ex-wife and his kids and his career. We have an understanding because how well we get to know who this man is and what he values and what means something to him. You understand the deep spirituality of who Carlos Santana is through this film. We understand how that permeates everything. And it isn't about like doing something because you're supposed to be doing it. It's about the spiritual connection and that energy. And if it's not flowing right, is it worth sticking to? And that helps us understand, like, maybe why his first marriage didn't work out so well, why he has a bit of a fluidity in how his band's made up, because he's had, like, 30-something iterations of Santana. Because when it really comes down to it, it's him. It's him at the core that makes this work, and it's all these other artists around him that really fleshes it out. We get to know him growing up, and you hear from some of his siblings and family members. You really get the core emotional beats of the film. There's some lovely anecdotes that he tells about his mother, about his father, and you really understanding his process of where he found his music, the impact of him going to the Fillmore as a young man, and some of the other big pieces that really shaped his career and his music, from Woodstock, which launched Santana, to Supernatural, which I grew up, my mom with her Ford F-150 and her collection of CDs, Santana's Supernatural was one of them that I've listened to over and over and over again from start to finish, and I understand like how impactful that album is and what it meant for his career, and you learn those big pillar moments of his career. You might not get details of like every single album or things like that, but you hit on those pillar moments that capture him, his spirit and his essence. You see how his music comes from that feeling, that spirit, channeling his relationships. You don't get a ton of his wives or his kids, but you do get little bits and moments that fit in the context of who he is as a person. You see how much of a connection he has with his present wife, who's a drummer, that he connects with even from a single shot of the way he looks at her while they're performing live at a concert. They do a great job of picking very effective moments in his career to show him performing his live music, and the energy is unmatched. And those moments, like, I was so getting into the music, being a big fan of his music, and you have these really intimate interludes of just him, like without a shirt on, just with like hanging out in his home, playing away, noodling on the guitar, and just the rawness and the impressive power of his music can even be felt in those moments. And you really understand how much the musicality that runs through his vein just pours out in this impressive music that really is about this spiritual connection and the spiritual experience. And you really understand Santana on a deep level as he speaks to so much of that and with that framing, that lens, seeing who this man is. Overall, this is a tight, engaging, and arousing documentary that really helps you understand who this man is and how his experiences, his perspective shaped his music, shaped his career, and his life. And this is a really engaging and interesting documentary about one of the greatest guitarists of all time. And it made me want to just go and just listen to Santana music for days. And I might do that. I just recording this shortly after watching the film. So chances are I'll probably be listening to a lot of Santana after this. Don't need a whole lot of excuse, but this is the perfect one. This is such an engaging, well-made, classy documentary that, it might not dig too deep into certain things. You don't hear from his kids, you don't hear from his wives, but it's something that just captures the essence of who this man is and how that permeates through his whole entire life and career. And that's pretty special for such a small, tight little film. But those are my thoughts on Carlos. Let me know what you think and let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in, supporting your Wasteland Reviewer.